telling us how he's dealing with all these problems on different levels, and also the background on the minimum wage bill, which was forwarded by himself, the Honourable Member of Parliament, to respond to these questions.
Well, the Honourable Member of Parliament, he tabled the minimum wage bill way back in 2015. That was October 25th. But as events progressed, the Honourable Member of Parliament on May 28th, when the President was supposed to assent to that bill, the Honourable Minister then, Hajat Janet Mukwaya, was alleged to have written a letter to the President misleading him. And as events progressed, the President declined to assent to the bill. Honorable Rwakajara, you came out boldly and you said that the Minister then, Honorable Janet Mukwaya, had misled the President. Would you please throw some lights to that?
Well, thank you so much, my brother and colleague. The minimum wage bill was tabled, as you said clearly, and it went through all the processes. It was read for the first time, went to the committee. The committee processed the bill and consulted all the stakeholders, as usual. So after consulting all the stakeholders, the committee took decisions on each and every clause. After collecting all the information about the bill, so they took decisions as procedures require in Parliament on each and every clause, and forwarded it to Parliament, to the whole House in Parliament. And the Parliament, the whole House discussed the bill and passed it, just awaiting for the President to sign. Unfortunately, before the President appended his signature, the Minister then, Honorable Janet Mukwaya, wrote a letter which was copied to me, saying the President should not sign the bill because he did not actually he did not give any explanation. He just requested the President not to sign the bill. He did not give any justification. He said the bill is not required now. But between me and you, you know that the bill is required. We need a minimum wage in this country right now. Even actually we needed it yesterday. You know how people are being exploited in all sectors of our economy. Let it be agriculture, let it be media, let it be everywhere. It depends on the employer.
But
yes.
You need to let us know. Twandiyagadde okutegeera bo obuzibu bwavaawa because kati nga wetwegerera kati juweze emyaka 6.
And if you could also highlight on the provisions, apart from the minimum wage, what were the other provisions in that particular bill?
Well, first of all, the provisions, it was all about minimum wage. And of course, it had all the procedures on how you reach a time of fixing a minimum wage. For example, maybe I can highlight some of the clauses. That it was supposed it would create a board. This law would create a board, a representative board. Employers, employees, and government should be members of the board. After collecting the information of the economy, then they determine that the maid should start at this. And then it was creating that it should be sectoral, not across the board minimum wage. Media should have its own minimum wage. Depending on the board's decision, sectors of the economy, say media, say construction, say agriculture, hospitality, and other sectors. And then they say everybody should start at this. After doing thorough research, it was not anyone to wake up in the morning and set a minimum wage.
Absolutely.
So the board was supposed to be a representative board. They sit, debate, and determine that this sector should start at this. This sector should start at this.
So Honorable, if it was as beautiful as you paint or you insinuate right now,
yes,
then why then do you think that would the president be so naive not to sign a beautiful bill like that? That would benefit
first
the
of
nation?
all, the president has representatives who are cabinet ministers. That sector, that time was Mukwaya. But you see, this bill has been surrounded by so many interests. One, employers. Some of the employers didn't want the law to pass. Because, you know, especially so-called investors, some of them, they don't want to fix the minimum wage because, I mean, the workers will know I'm starting at this.
Therefore, you wouldn't.
So they are taking advantage, total exploitation, and maximization of profits in their businesses.
Well, at that point, Honorable,
yes.
I would like to address you to Article 132 of your Parliamentary Rules of Procedures.
Yep.
More especially at Clause 2, 7, and 9,
Yeah.
where you are supposed, when the President bounces back the bill,
Yeah.
under Clause 2,
Yeah.
it gives you a window of retabling the bill in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Then once that fails, under Clause 9, Parliament has the prerogative to pass the bill as an act of Parliament.
Yeah.
6 years down the road.
Yeah.
We have not seen you retable the bill for the second time. We have not seen Parliament take that prerogative that they have within the Parliamentary Rules of Procedure, passing the bill as an act of Parliament. Can you address yourself to those 2 windows that you have, and why have you failed to utilize them?
First of all, it's not 6 years. It was tabled in 2015. It took some years in the process. It was passed, I think, last year. So it's not even 2 years. However, we agreed with the Speaker that we should talk to the President first. After talking to the President, because the President returned the bill without any justification. Because that's how he was advised. Even Mukwaya did not give any justification. So the bill said, I have been advised that I don't sign the bill, so I return it to the Parliament.
Perhaps the bill did not hold water and it had some loopholes.
No. You see, when the bill has a loophole, you highlight the clause that we don't agree with this clause. So there was no loophole. It was a very good law. It is a good law that if is accepted will help everybody. Janet Mukwaya could not highlight clause 1 or 2 or 3 that this one is unfair to our economy. She did not, because she just wrote a blank letter and the President returned it on a blank letter.
Now, why don't you consider the other window?
So the other window, this is what we are going to consider. You see, you don't need we didn't need to make it a war. We wanted to explain to the President. But he has not got time. We've been discussing with the Speaker of Parliament, and he has not got time to discuss this matter. If he takes long, we'll send it. And then he returns it, we make it a law.
When-
as simple as that.
when you
Even
look
without
at the
assent-
controversy,
even without the assentment of the president,
Yes.
without the president's signature,
Yes.
the window provides that
The
parliament
the procedure
can
is
oversee
that
all the procedure
no, the procedure you need to
and
send
pass
it
it as an
back.
act. Yeah.
If it doesn't, and we go through it again, it doesn't. We find it okay. We send it back for the second time. If it fails, we pass it as a law.
well, from
Should we expect that alternative being considered?
Oh yes, that is the only way. But we believe he will even aside.
but you have just
He was
alluded,
missing fire.
you have just alluded to a fact that
Yeah.
there are a lot of vested interest around
Oh yes.
the passing of the bill,
Yes.
including
So
sabotage.
Mkwaya could have been
sabotage.
influenced
So-
by the investors.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where I want we address ourselves too, because
Yeah.
now this bill was a property of the Ministry of Gender.
Yeah.
Should we say that money ought to have changed hands? That the ministry that is the
Ministry
owner
of
of the
Gender.
bill
First of all,
completely
I
loses
want,
interest?
I want to correct this. It was not a property of gender. It was a private member's bill. It is me who presented the private member's bill. So ministry was a stakeholder like any other stakeholders. It became a property of parliament. You know it that when the government brings a bill, parliament owns it.
Owns it.
So when I presented the bill, no property of parliament. So until we processed it up to the end, so we wanted a presidential.
But don't you find that don't you find that strange?
Yes.
That you now the owners of the bill, it comes into parliament as a private member's bill.
Yep.
But along the way, a mere stakeholder hijacks the show from parliament and causes the bill not to be assented to.
He is not a stranger. He's not just a stakeholder. He advised. He's the advisor of the president, right?
But just look at that advice, how it caused parliament problems.
Because the president is final person on any law, right? So once the president has not signed the law, then those are the force and back, what we are in now.
Yes.
So, and the president asked Mkwaya, should I go ahead and
Sign.
Mkwaya wrote. I don't know whether he was even asked, but she wrote in advance. So when you say there was some funny things, possibly, yes, because I'm wondering, Mkwaya presented in the committee. She was invited. She gave her position in the Committee of Parliament. After giving a position, committee went ahead and took decisions. When you fail to convince the Committee of Parliament, you don't again write. You must accept what the... If he was not agreeing with some of the part of the bill, he would have highlighted them.
Perhaps the Honourable Member of Parliament can update us at what level the bill is right now. That's if it hasn't been watered down and your advocacy for pushing for it
hasn't been taken up by events.
No. It has not taken over by events because there is no event of exploitation. It is continuing. 2, the bill is alive and kicking. We have not ended this term of office. Even if it means that we are pushed to the end, we will save it. But we will not go. After these campaigns, the bill will be enacted in favor.
Does this thing bothers you? Because you came up with that bill way back in 2015.
Yes.
But between 2015 and to date, new bills have come up. You have handled them expeditiously and passed them.
This bill...
Doesn't it bother you as a workers' representative?
This bill is not a simple bill. You should understand it.
What makes it complex?
It's a war between the rights of the workers and I should not call it the rights of employers. The employers are still interested in exploiting workers, some of them. But some employers actually supported the bill. Some of them who could have influenced the minister possibly are the ones that are disturbing us. But I want to assure Ugandans.
Do you find their reasons
they have no reason. They have not given any reason. The reason, can you state in the letter that please hold on, we keep on exploiting workers? I think that is the reason. They want to leave the whole game in chaos.
So for how long are we going to be moving on in cycles?
No, I want to assure you.
When the neighboring country,
yes.
Kenya, they have it.
Yes.
Probably Rwanda, they should also be having it.
Yes.
Why is it that Uganda
is stalling on the same?
Stalling on certain issues?
This is why I had to move a private member's bill. We demanded from the government. There was an act of 1957, which is not important
it's
anymore.
An imperialistic law.
Completely. So we repealed the other one and came up with a bill that can fit in these times.
Just tell us, how do you
move
feel
away from this issue?
Yes.
Is there an invisible hand that is making this particular bill stall?
Some investors, it is clear, but I want to assure you they will not manage. Because they tried to fail it on the reading of the first time, second time, third time, it has passed. Parliament, you cannot reverse Parliament's decision now. They debated it, they took decisions, and that's it. We are just waiting.
Are these investors more powerful than you, the representative of the people?
They are not. That's why it was passed. Yes. They can only manipulate the ministers who are not focused, but they cannot take the show.
Absolutely.
So.
But isn't the delay affecting you?
It is a strategic move.
Because it's something that you have now.
We need to exhaust all avenues. We don't want to say that we are harassing your investors, we are harassing your employers.
You are running away from those
it's not about blames. It's a smart way of doing things. Because if I reach here, you have your employer here, and I opt to fight rather than negotiations. So we have done everything. We are negotiating with one person, the last man. The rest is done.
But still, it's taking a lot of time, to the disadvantage of the people and constituency that you represent, the workers.
It may be not overnight, but it is going to be done.
You have always put, Parliament has always sought for an interface with the President. And you have always asked certain questions as to why he's delaying to assent to certain bills, and he does assent to them. Have you taken any interest to find out from the President?
The Speaker.
Why?
The Speaker used the rate channel and wrote, and he has not responded. And those are the right procedures. You don't just ambush the President.
Does that speak volume to you?
Oh yes, maybe he still needs actually, I consulted him one time. He said he needs a meeting between us and the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Labour. And we discuss. So I've been waiting for this meeting. But if it takes long, more than I become impatient, I will push Parliament.
As an act of Parliament?
Yes.
Well, okay.
Perhaps we should be moving on to
the NSSF,
the National
Act
Social Security Fund,
yeah.
Amendment Act 2019, and the controversies surrounding it. We've seen COVID-19 has shown us quite a number of things, and people that subscribe to NSSF have been advocating to access their fund, mid-term access to their fund. I don't know, in your perspective as a representative of the worker, how have you represented the people to ensure that their interests are achieved and that their savings are well utilized, but to their benefit and not to anyone else's?
First of all, let's go back to the beginning, the spirit of establishing NSSF. The spirit of National Social Security Fund is an intervention of that time when you can no longer work. That is the spirit, the bottom line. At your old age, where is your fallback position? You can get loan when you are still working. You can do business when you are still working. You can gamble in all ways. But there is this time where chances of trying here and there
Are not working out.
are not working out. There is a time when you don't qualify to get a loan. There is an age where nobody can entrust you with anything apart from what you saved. So that is the spirit. I've been a board member of NSSF before I joined politics. I have seen people retire and get their benefits. I know the challenges behind that. Some have maintained their savings, and because it is a provident fund, when you retire, they give you all your money. It is not a monthly replacement of an income. You get your total sum, whatever you have earned and what you have saved, and take it. But most people, have lost their money. There are people here in town who know that you are going to retire in this month, and they come with all sorts of proposals, and you end up maybe losing the money.
The National Social Security Fund Amendment Bill 2019 provided midterm access.
I want to give you this background, such that
even before 50 years, at least at 45, to access your funds. But even those that have saved for more than 10 years, below 45, would be allowed to access their fund. But then...
No, that's not true. That's not
this
how
bill
it
was
is.
frustrated in certain
No.
That was quite mysterious.
What the bill is saying and what we passed in the committee was have access, midterm access of 20%. When you are at 45, beyond 45, and you have saved with the fund for 10 years and more. So the two must go together. What are we trying to cure? Someone can have worked for 2 years and say, me, I want my 20%. Others could have saved 10 years, but is still young. Like you could have worked here for 10 years, and you have saved with NSSF, and you say, I want my 20%, but you're still young. So we are not curing the other spirit I was talking about.
So what you're trying to say is
so
that
when you are close to retirement, you're 45, and you have been saving with the NSSF beyond 10 years, since you are preparing to retire, we are saying get 20%, prepare for exit. What I was giving you the background, that when you get this lump sum money, and you have never done any business in life, you've been working with STV for the rest of your life, you come here every morning, you leave in the evening, when they give you a monthly holiday, you just go on holiday with your family, and that is the life you are used to.
Are you trying to say
so
that
when you retire,
the bill is going to hit a snag just because there's a category of people who are still young, but they have worked for 10 years, they are eligible to get the 20%, but just because that they are young, they cannot put that money to better use.
I'm telling you the proposal.
You can proceed, Honorable.
I'm telling you the proposal that you don't need first of all, we are preparing you to retire. Your 20%.
The 20% prepares you to retire.
When you are still young, myself and the committee, what we thought is not necessary. You are still honorable, you are still everything, you can get other savings and start a business. But when you're at 45, you are approaching retirement age. And you have not started with saving with NSSF. Because you can be 50 and you save 2 years when you are retiring, or 5 years and exit. I mean, you don't need your 20%.
But there are circumstances that have shown us that even the age factor shouldn't be considered here. COVID-19 has shown us that it doesn't know the young, the old, whatever demographic.
Let me help you. This is why I was telling you. I was giving you the background. The spirit of NSSF is for old age.
Yeah. Now, honorable.
So whether COVID comes in, when you get a bike accident and you go to NSSF, when you lose a job and you go to NSSF, when you have issues of school fees, you go to NSSF, then it becomes a commercial bank.
But from the best
but the NSSF worldwide, the spirit of NSSF, National Social Security Fund, is for that age when you are no longer active.
Can I know from you this?
Yes, please.
The issue of 45 years beneficiaries for the 20%, that was brought by government.
No.
Hold on. Members of parliament
are
the ones who caused a clawback. They say that young people who have served with NSSF for 10 years should also benefit from the 20%. Now, if it is Parliament that brought in that clawback, why is it that now, when you go to meet the President, you turn around and you shoot down the whole idea that you personally mooted as Parliament?
You see, you don't have the background of this. When they brought the bill, there was no midterm. Work as a representative, we pushed to make sure there is midterm access. They accepted, put it in there. We went to the committee and passed all this. But we gave a condition that I'm telling you what the committee has passed. Parliament has not discussed it. Unless if you have another information.
Oh, you proceed.
But what the proposals for the committee, as we talk, you must have served with NSSF 10 years. You must be 45 and above.
And those before
to access 45? To access 20%.
And those who are not yet 45?
Those who are not 45, you don't qualify. These are the proposals. I'm telling you what is in the proposal.
Why was it included why was it included in a pact that you went to discuss with the President?
No, we did not discuss that. What they were saying, you see, what we were discussing in State House, it was not actually the controversy. The President is the one who brought it. But have you done actuarial study that if you give 20%, right, of savers will not affect the fund? And we said the study was done. And that's why we have this proposal here. The President went ahead. For me, what I reported was that NSSF and other pension schemes are spending a lot of money on Uber. Retirement benefit.
Before you get into that,
yes.
Did you agree with the President?
On what?
That the bill will be withdrawn?
No, we did not.
Are you trying to say that you still maintain the 20% midterm access?
Of course, that's what is in the proposal. And actually it is on order paper. Anytime it can be presented.
So you have no doubt that people will see light at the end of the tunnel?
Oh yes. Parliament will pass it.
Then what's the controversy?
Well,
Why is the president tossing you back?
Who has tossed it back? The bill was, Yomochi was quarreling recently on the floor that it should be presented, that they should change the order paper and they present the, it was a speaker who stopped it.
The whooped a cold feet and
No.
It was to listen to him.
That was not the president's order. That was the speaker. Okay? Possibly he had other items to handle that were very urgent. But the bill is still on the business to follow.
So, just assure Ugandans
Yes.
that you are, as parliament, your business with the president to do with the 20% share is done. What is left is,
first of
for
all,
parliament.
I need to help you.
Parliament.
I need to help you again. That most people, they think 20% should be for everybody. Whether you have served 1 year, whether 1 month, whether what, that one as a committee, we don't agree with it. Because we run on the fund. The next day we'll close the fund. If you say terminate all investments and give people 20%, chances are high. I've not done those actuarial studies, but chances are high that if you terminate all the investments, if they bought to Bank of Uganda people and then you terminate, if they have invested in a certain bank and you terminate and withdraw all the money and pay, the fund is likely.
But I think, Honorable, they are not saying.
What we are saying, be strict. 45 of age, you must have served 10 years. But if you allow someone who has served 1 month, that you also get 20%, this is what I was telling you, the spirit of NSSF would have died.
Let's move on to investment of the National Social Security Fund to UBRA, but also to different parts. Who determines where to invest and how to invest? Because the National Social Security Fund has invested in our neighboring countries and not in our own countries like Kenya, Tanzania, and not in Uganda, who are supposed to be the basic beneficiaries of their monies.
There is a very long process of investment. Every day, NSSF account, some money falls on it. And the last time I used to know, I was an investment officer. Before I left, because now Ubraro brought in a custodian, a fund manager, I think a custodian, fund manager, and an administrator. These are sourced institutions like banks, Tambik, and what. Those are the ones who show NSSF invest here, do this, do this. Here it's profitable. Here it's expensive. Risks are here many. Don't do this, don't do this.
But the common Ugandan, the civilian, is not considered.
No, listen. Don't rush to a common Ugandan. He is considered. First of all, NSSF has a board. There is a committee of a board on investment. So they are up-to-dated every day. And the board even takes decisions.
So when scandals happen,
don't think that there is any time that Ugandans are not aware where NSSF is going to.
In a conversation with the executive director of NSSF,
yes.
Mr. Richard Byalugaba, actually wanted him to be part of this panel.
Yes.
He made it very clear that it is very risky to invest in Uganda, considering the setup and the long-term returns. That Uganda's settings, in terms of the infrastructure, the resources, and the positions of the businesses,
I think
if they invested here, they wouldn't get the returns that they get in the neighboring countries.
Don't know what
as an economist, what does this make of it?
I don't know what he told you, but I think that would be not sincere. Big man of NSSF are in this economy. As a generalist, go and do research, how much money of NSSF are in all these commercial banks? How much money are in Bank of Uganda through bonds and whatever?
I've looked at those figures, and the
Yes.
figures outside has well.
And what I remember, there are rules. There is a certain percentage you can invest outside and in East Africa. But there is a percentage you cannot go beyond. And that must be very small.
On macroeconomics level, as an economist,
If you invest in your economy, if you invest in your economy, 90%, it's okay thing to. I'm not representing NSSF here.
absolutely.
But I think it's better you invest also in other economies where you can get more profits.
Well, you have just said that.
But I'm very sure more money is in our economy. That is the last time I was at the NSSF board.
You have just said that the board at NSSF is always updated.
Yes.
On each and every progress that goes on.
Yes.
Money coming in.
Yes.
When scandals happen,
Yeah. Like which one?
does it mean that the NSSF board is in slumber?
Which one?
You have had several scandals happening at
Yeah.
NSSF.
That for me, since 2008, okay, that's when I joined the NSSF board after Jamwa saga. Whatever scandal that happens in NSSF, to answer your question, the board must be aware. It can be a wrong decision or a connivance between the board and management. So, all the time, unless if these board members are just sleeping, but every investment,
and that's where
board members are aware.
And that's where I want to address you too.
Yes.
That at times,
Yeah.
either board members are sleeping or connivance between board members and technical people within NSSF.
Yeah.
You are in parliament, we're always in parliament. You know that the decision for NSSF to invest in Umeme, it had issues.
Yeah.
It had issues. There were brokers whom parliament was almost crucifying,
Yeah.
who have been caused whatever irregularities that they were involved in. So, as a workers' representative going forward, what should be done to avoid such scandals and putting an end to the financial losses that normally take place as a result of either bad decisions being made or connivance?
For example, when we were not sure about Umeme investment, it is on record, I raised on the floor of Parliament and called for investigation. And indeed, Parliament, the Speaker constituted a committee to investigate whether investing in Umeme was genuine or it had some issues. And I think Umeme saga could have been the one that took Chiwanuka then, Maria Chiwanuka, Minister of Finance, because she was really involved and pushed it. So, whatever was happening, and who raised the flag, workers' representatives on the board. Because we have representatives on the board
I know.
of NSSF. So, they raised the flag, and we went to Parliament, and investigations were instituted. I have not had the losses in Umeme. I have not followed since then. I don't know. I don't want to enter into the investment returns on what, because I'm not part of that. But I want to tell you, I've not had outcry that they made loss in Umeme, or I'm always hearing that we are making money in Umeme. So, whatever was happening that time,
So you always
the
hear
board members were there, our representatives, and they were updating us all the time. And that's how we raised it on the floor of Parliament.
So, let us move on to the bill, the private members' bill. I understand you have already sought for a leave of Parliament.
Yes.
You want to present the externalization of labor bill. What do you intend to cure by coming along with that bill?
Well, thank you so much on that issue. Externalization of labor. We have about 100 plus registered companies that export labor, right? But if I ask you which law do they use, are they operating under which, they are operating under which law?
Well, Honorable, just a minute.
Yes.
There's no democracy here. Let us first go in for a commercial break, and when we return,
and just before we go into the commercial break,
so the bosses must be out there.
Absolutely, but just before. We shall continue with this discussion on the NSSF midterm access to the National Social Security Fund, but also the minimum wage bill that was tabled by the Honourable Minister of Workers in Parliament. That's the Honourable Member of Parliament, Arinitwe Rakajara, who we have today in studio. But just before we continue with the discussions, I would like to...
Why are you appointing me minister?
Or rather, Member of Parliament. Before we continue with the discussion, I would like to pass this announcement that breaking story. The information coming in indicates that the former presidential aspirant, that's Dr. Chiyingi, has just passed on, and we do pass on our condolences to his family and his friends. Agre Chiyingi has just passed on. Well, we shall continue with the discussions on workers and matters affecting them with the Honourable Member of Parliament, Honourable Rakajara Arinitwe. We were discussing the issue of labour externalization, and an issue that this country is facing and trying to fight by tooth and nail at all levels. The anti-corruption unit, the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and you, the representative for workers. What are you doing to ensure that our young people don't fall victim?
So exactly what he was asking, I have decided to come up with a bill to regulate the whole process of exporting labor. The truth is, you cannot stop people going out for chair. The truth is, our children are battered and suffering outside there. The truth is, we have lost some, others are working in horrible condition. Now, there is a very big player in there called exporter, or someone who exports labor through right channels. I hope the smugglers and all that, those ones are traffickers. Those ones are different. And there is a trafficking human being law act. But now this one of exportation, there is no law. So we want a law. And that's why I've come up with a bill. I am on leave to bring up a bill, and soon it will be read for the first time to make sure that whoever exports a Ugandan must be knowing where the person is going, terms and conditions are clear, the person is ready to work, because most of them are lied. They are told they're going to work in supermarkets. They're going to work as security guards. They're going to work as what? When they reach there, they are taken in people's homes.
Honorable Rakajara, don't you think you've run out of time? you're late to come up with this law?
No. You see, people, before that, I remember in 2013, I went to Iraq following girls that were taken. And most of them actually died there. We managed to get few. Others came back when they were mad, abused, tortured. It is American soldiers that helped us to get some of them. From there, we told the ministry and the police to investigate people who took them there. I think that time there were like 2 companies or 3 companies. They were registered, and we said to punish the culprits that exported these
the
gas.
The repercussions should really be harsh. Having lived outside and seen
they gave excuses. They gave excuses that actually there was no law around there. So, ministry came up with regulation and strict registration of companies. The demand was too much, and more companies registered. There are about 100 plus. They have even a very big association. They have tried to organize themselves. But there is no clear law that should deal with these people.
Why isn't
if you take one Ugandan and suffers from the wrong hands, you should be answerable. Today, you may not really corroborate this person properly because there is no clear law. So the law should stipulate clearly that the person should be going to work on these terms, and if there is any problem, you are liable.
Are you trying to say
these companies are believed to belong to very powerful people, and that's the reason the government
it doesn't matter. There is no one who is above the law. You may pray with it, but when it grabs you properly, you will be punished. We have seen big people, so-called big people, go to prison. So, in this, we must have a law and regulate the whole process and punish whoever misled our children.
I understand that at the Ministry of Labor, they have an entire department that does with vetting, scrutiny. Are you suggesting that this department at the Ministry of Labor has failed the Ugandans?
I may not say they have failed Ugandans. I think it is our role, and the government, to come up with such laws that regulates such things. So, they came up with regulations. They were passed in Parliament, but a regulation is a regulation, it's not a law. So we need to come up with an act on how do exporting companies register. Who should register? The person, the company. The director, how should the directors behave? If they break the following things, how are they going to be punished? So,
it's going to be a private member's bill.
Yes.
Would you mind sharing with us here some of the penalties that you are considering to cure the mischiefs?
I'm still on leave, drafting it, so I don't want to preempt because I'm still consulting workers, employers, those companies, and parliamentary lawyers are doing whatever it takes to make sure we have a good law.
You have just acknowledged here that we have over 100 companies taking people abroad for chair. Are you not afraid that again you are likely to suffer similar intrigue, hide and seek games that you have suffered with the private members' bill to do with the minimum wage?
That's what it means, representing people who are disadvantaged. So I will stand the suffering again. And whatever I will meet on the way, I don't mind. it is better than not to try. But I want to assure you, all these rules will be in place. Whether I'm there or not, we'll have these rules. You better start it rather than not start it.
Baby steps. We are wishing you the best in that fight.
If you can convince the whole House, whole Parliament, and pass a law, I mean, you have comrades in the war.
As we come to the climax,
yes.
I would want us to look into slightly the issues of the Employment Act and what the pandemic, COVID-19, has taught you as a representative of the workers in terms of provisions in the Employment Act to protect workers from being mistreated at their workplaces in times of crises like disasters like the pandemic. Don't you think this pandemic has strongly affected workers? But not only workers, from the companies, corporate companies are laying off. They are laying off, and there is no preparations whatsoever to the workers in these different organizations. So at the end of the day, it comes back to you, the representative. What do you envisage?
I think this is a new experience. It's really a challenge to everybody. It's not for only workers, by the way, even employers. People had invested a lot of money in some businesses. They are seeing it going. Some businesses have collapsed, say like in hospitality industry, tourism, and many. So it's a challenge that needed all of us immediately when it hit this country and the whole world. We went to ministry and called stakeholders meeting, employers and employees, bodies. So we discussed, we said let's be honest to each other, but also be patient to each other. It is very unfortunate when I hear companies laying off some workers. It's not necessary. And we agreed on how to go about it.
Some have actually
we said, yes, we know some companies are not earning anything now, but therefore, let them go on leave, some of them without pay. Some of them can have half pay. And we agree, but on negotiations.
How are you going to handle the unemployment disaster post-COVID-19?
Well, that one is a $1 million question. It needs all sectors to come together as a country and discuss.
Well, Honorable, we need to say to you, we need to bring the show to an end.